This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly.
Today on Know-How,
we're making a Raspberry Pi. Welcome to Know-How. It's a Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I am Father Robert Ballas here.
I'm Brian Burnett.
And for the next however many minutes it takes, we're gonna forcibly open your knowledge hole and put in a bunch of stuff.
That's right, because if you're watching this show, you want to learn.
You do.
And what we're learning about today is Alexa.
Oh, okay.
A whole
Folks,
lot of Alexa.
We may have to explain this. Over the course of this episode, we're going to be using the Amazon voice assistant
A word, yes.
trigger word a lot. And we're going to have to bleep it out. So when you hear bleeps, it's us saying Alexa, not us saying
Except we totally just said it right now, which also activated this.
It did. It did.
Anyway, yeah. So I wanted to take a look at some of the assistants that that are available now through the different services, like you had mentioned. Amazon Echo is one of them, and then also the Google Gnome.
The Gnome. Oh, look at that! It's so cute.
Google Gnome.
Yeah, this is a product category that's been exploding because you may remember when Amazon released this, the big old one, the original, the granddaddy.
People, what, like 2 years ago now?
Yeah, people didn't really know what it was for. Like, okay, so I can order stuff from Amazon a bit better. And then this was their surprise of the year. It was a breakout product, and it was really a stealth way to get Amazon's voice assistant into your home, because this is a decent speaker, it's a decent entertainment piece, and it's just kind of fun to have.
Yeah, and the thing that has improved over time is the algorithms and things that they use on the back end. So necessarily the hardware hasn't changed, but the things that you can do with it and the tie-ins that you can play with are pretty impressive too, as long as you're okay with having a listening device in your home at all times, which, you know, I have the Xbox One, which comes with Kinect, and it's got a Cortana and a camera on it and stuff. So
I think we have to beep that too, right?
Cortana? Yeah, probably.
Okay. All right, good. That's another beep.
Cortana.
You're going to be doing a lot of editing on this episode.
I'm going to have to listen to every word. I know that's what makes one of these episodes kind of difficult.
It's so difficult. Yeah, and you know, the thing is, I get it. I'm the same way. I have an Echo. It is unplugged because I don't like it listening.
Wait, you don't trust just hitting the mute button on it?
No.
No.
Well, there was just a story that was released last week about the Bose headphones. I know, you're thinking headphones. Well, Bose has an app that you can load on an iPhone or an Android device that allows you to control specifically what kind of patterns you want, what kind of noise canceling. Well, it was revealed last week that that thing's actually sending information back to Bose.
Yep.
So I am a bit on the ultra paranoid side where if I can avoid having something listen to me, that's what I do. In fact, I've turned off the voice assistant on my phone because I don't want that constantly sending back information. In fact, if you've ever gone to history.google.com, you can actually look at your voice searches, and it's not what you search for in text. It's the recording of what you said to your assistant. That kind of freaks me out. I don't want that thing listening. But remember, I mean, you have a phone. You've got the iPhone or the Android versions of the voice assistant, or maybe even the Microsoft version. These are all receiving data. They're all sending it back to be processed because most of them don't have the power on the device to actually have that wide of a library.
They're just the conduit that then sends the information to the cloud and then retrieves back the information.
Precisely. And for 99.99999%, it's not nefarious. My issue is that I'm actually not all that worried about what Amazon or Microsoft or Apple or Google will do with my voice searches.
What are you worried about?
I'm worried about their security, because that's actually when things start happening that are bad, when someone else gets access to a database that they shouldn't have access to, and suddenly you have all of that.
Well, I'm sure if somebody found a vulnerability with it, they would totally disclose it to Amazon or Google right away.
That's what we do on the internet. We're very honest.
But now that we've totally freaked you out about listening devices at all the time, maybe we should talk about why you would want one.
Yeah, let's talk about how we build one.
Yeah. Well, so kind of what spurred my my interest in this project was that I had wanted to play with the Amazon Echo, but it comes in at, I think it's $179.99, so $189. And that's kind of expensive just to want to play with one, but you can build for around $40 if you have a Raspberry Pi 3, a Raspberry Pi 2.
Do not do this with a Raspberry Pi 1 or with a Raspberry Pi 0. You can. It will not work properly.
You know, and even with the 3, which is the powerhouse of Raspberry Pis, it's still a credit card sized computer, and just even having the limited things that I do on it, like one web page, like sometimes I'll have it up where I watch our live stream and stuff. And
it can chug.
It can chug a little. It can chug a little.
Because you have to remember, I mean, most of these are embedded devices. That's what they do. The RasPi is it's a computer. It's a full-feature computer. So it's got a lot of stuff that it's doing that it doesn't need to do in order to be a voice assistant.
Right.
Which means it's going to be a little sluggish. You will notice every once in a while that we'll say a command to this RasPi and it doesn't pick it up for the first time. Now, part of that's because it's got a really bad microphone.
Yeah.
The other part is that it's just kind of chugging along.
I can show the overhead here. Yeah, I mean, to get started with this project, you don't really need a lot. It's just the Raspberry Pi, this really cheap, this is the microphone that it uses to listen. I think I got this for like $3 on Amazon or something like that. And then I have a Bluetooth speaker. I'm not using the Bluetooth, just got it plugged in hardwired wise. And that's all you really need to set it up.
Yeah.
But
I was playing with one of these at home, and what I actually did was I got a USB dongle that went out to an audio out. The reason why I did that is because it's a lot cleaner than the audio jack on the Raspberry Pi. And then I tied that into, well, because I had all these parts lying around.
Yeah.
So I tied it into a room conferencing system. It actually has mics at the 4 corners.
Oh, okay.
That works so much better.
That's cool.
And that's actually one of the reasons why people like this. The microphones on this are really, really good at filtering out stuff it shouldn't be listening to.
It's a decent speaker too, the Echo. I mean, when you compare it to...
Not so much on the Google Gnome.
The Google Gnome, that thing's so silly.
You think Gnome is close enough that you have to bleep it out?
No, well, yeah, actually, because I think on All About Android, we were saying, what was the word? It was like gobbledygook or something like that. And it's still, kind of triggered.
Okay.
But, so the main difference is, though, if you were interested in either getting the Google Home or the Amazon Echo, is that clearly, if you are more embedded in the Amazon service, you'll want to go with the Echo. If you are very much Google, then go for the Google Home. But where the Amazon Echo kind of...
Or as we call it, the Google Beep.
The Google Beep? Oh. Well, it's only if you say, okay,
okay, that's beep.
Now I will have to bleep that out.
You have to listen to this whole thing.
Oh, and it set off my phone.
Oh, how about, yay! Congratulations.
That's another thing about these voice assistants. Like, this whole Star Trek concept of being able to say, like, computer, Earl Grey, tea, hot. Brilliant. Like, I want to live in that world, but where we are at right now is you can't. You trigger everything when you say that, and we have to be careful about when we say it, because when people play the sound over the speaker, it picks up on these devices. And then there's that whole Burger King story that came out too, where they basically advertised over the Google Home by just playing the commercial.
Messing with it, yeah. Well, do you remember there was a booth at World Maker Faire? We went by it. We didn't film it because it wasn't that interesting. But all it was like 30 echoes and dots, and you were invited. It was like performance art. So you were invited to come in and say the trigger word, and it would just start this cacophony. They're all responding at different times. It was, okay. That's
and you can also do an infinite loop between the Google Home and the Amazon Echo, where they just keep talking to each other. It's like Amazon Echo.
It's like a Furby. It's like an advanced Furby. Remember the little Furbies you'd put next to each other, and they would just talk to each other?
I have horrific nightmares still of the Furbies.
Have you ever seen the Furby when they've taken off all the plush covering?
Yes.
It's nightmare fuel.
It reminds me of, was it RoboCop 2, where the guy's just the brain and eyes?
I was cuddling up with the Terminator.
It was nightmare fuel. Nightmare fuel.
Okay, so let's get back to the project. Obviously, you're going to want the fastest Raspberry Pi possible, so that's the Raspberry 3.
Yes.
Is this installed on top of default Raspbian?
It is. So you just load up regular Raspbian. You don't have to add anything extra to it. because you are going through the graphical interface, that's going to take up a little bit more horsepower.
Okay, right.
But this is actually pretty responsive once you get everything set up through the services.
I've noticed that. So if you power it on, it takes 3 minutes or so before like all the background processes have stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the compromise you make when you're... This is a fun project. I mean, if somebody really wanted to just use something right away, you could get the Dot, the Amazon Dot for like $50, which is almost the amount of what this project costs to do. But if you don't want to have to buy something, you already have a Raspberry Pi, this is a fun project to play with. And you can do, if you want to tinker with it, I haven't myself, so I don't really know how difficult it is, but the wake word AI that you used with the software on the Raspberry Pi, you can customize. So you could change it to computer. You could change it to, hey, something. And I'm going to bleep that. I didn't actually say, I didn't have to mouth it, did I?
One of these,
I could have just really cussed right there.
Yeah, you really could.
You mother. And I covered him in the mouth. Nobody's
going to forget to think
No, I'm going to have to watch this whole episode.
Yeah. We're going to get to this in just a bit. You're going to show us a step-by-step, right?
Yes, I will show you step-by-step. I've got a pre-recorded video for that, so you'll be able to follow along. And then, of course, don't worry, all the notes and everything that you need for the commands will be in the show notes for the episode.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a bit, but before that, let's take a moment for these.
Previously on Twit.
This is Robert's face. He had himself scanned.
They made me a 3D model.
Oh! That's creepy as hell.
It is freaky, isn't it?
Windows Weekly.
Rich Turner's official title is Senior Program Manager at Microsoft, but he's best known for being Mr. Bash.
I don't know how we managed to keep this thing under wraps. But there were very, very few leaks.
I'll tell you how. Nobody could possibly believe that you were doing it. Even if they heard the rumor, they went, oh, that's insane.
The new screensavers.
We're going to see Meta in a brand new augmented reality platform. You can do more with this than Microsoft's doing with the HoloLens.
90-degree field of view, so immersive that you don't really see the edges. So it's almost like virtual reality on top of the real world.
Twit. It's where your brain and tech meet.
But you know what's interesting is when you first held that up, it felt like augmented reality of him, right?
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
And I have a small too, so they made me 2 of them.
Okay, so Brian, now that they've got their RasPi 3, now that they've got a microphone, they've got some way to
speaker,
put out the audio. What do they actually have to do in order to make this thing work?
Okay, so the next few steps aren't too difficult, but you do have to have an Amazon account and set up a developer account, which isn't too difficult, but let's watch the video to find out. This is Brian Burnett, host of Know How, and last August I built a Amazon Alexa out of a Raspberry Pi. It worked fine, but it was push button, and since then a new model of the Raspberry Pi has been released, the Model 3, making things much snappier. So I decided to revisit this project now that you can have voice activation and there's a faster Pi out. So you're not going to need a lot to start this project, but first you're going to need a Raspberry Pi Model 3 or 2, I'm using the 3, a USB mic, an 8GB or larger micro SD card, a micro USB cable and power adapter, and a speaker. Of course, you'll need a keyboard and mouse as well to be able to interface with the Pi. First things first, download the Raspberry Jessie OS and get that loaded onto the SD card, and then you're going to need to sign up for an Amazon developer account. It's free, and once you've done that, you'll navigate to the Alexa tab and then the Alexa voice services. Next, you'd want to register product type, and then device, but considering I've already gone through this, doing this project, I'll just walk you through the device I've already made. Now you want to name it, and this is important, my_device, and make sure to use that for your description and things like that. So under your security profile description, it will say my_device, then there's the security profile ID, client ID, and client secret. Those are some numbers you're going to want to keep track of. Next, go over to the web settings tab and type in https://localhost https://localhost:3000 and then allowed return URLs https://localhost:3000 auth response. Now this is the port that the Pi will be looking for to authenticate with the Alexa software on Amazon side. And now that you have your device set up on the Amazon developer side, plug in your SD card into your Pi and boot up into Raspbian for the first time. Now that you are in the OS, you're going to want to open up a terminal. And in that terminal, you'll type cd desktop. Next, you'll type in git clone https://github.com/alexa-avs-sample-app.get. And if you're having trouble remembering that, just check our show notes and there'll be a link there with the instructions. You can right click on the new folder on your desktop, alexa-avs-sample-app, and open it in a new terminal. And in the terminal, type nano automated _install.sh. And this opens up the file where you will be plugging in the information that you got from your Amazon developer page. And then open the desktop Alexa AVS sample app in terminal. You can do this by right-clicking on the folder and selecting open in terminal and type .automated_install.sh and hit enter. This will have you go through a quick questionnaire. Once completed, open up the Alexa AVS sample app /samples folder in terminal and type in cd companionService & npm start. Next, open a new terminal window from Alexa AVS sample app /samples and type in cd javaclient &nvm exec:/exec. And what this does is launches a pop-up that will direct you to the Amazon developer account. So here's the pop-up. Click yes. It'll open up a web page in your browser. When the page pops up, you'll want to click advanced and proceed to localhost. Even though it says it's unsafe, it's fine. It'll direct you to your Amazon account. And this is basically asking your permission to assign your device, and click continue. And you should see device tokens are ready. Then if you flip back to the pop-up and click OK, now your Raspberry Pi is connected to your Amazon services. And in this terminal, we will be setting up our wake word by typing cd wake word agent /src /wake word agent -e kit KITT _AI. And this will activate the wake word setting for our Raspberry. Play me my flash briefing.
Here's your flash briefing from This Week in Tech.
I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Megan Maroney from Tech News Today.
Pinterest launched a new beta feature of its app called Lens.
Tell me about the weather.
In Santa Rosa, there's a flood warning in effect until Friday.
I know some of you out there might be thinking it's easier just to buy a dot, and that would be the same. But if you have a Raspberry Pi laying around and a speaker, this is a fun project to do, just to be able to play around with some of the background services that the Alexa is capable of. And as always, now that you know how, go build it.
I saw what you did there.
Go build it.
Yeah. You know, what I love about this is the natural progression, because the first time we saw one of these devices, the guy who actually started making these was at Maker Faire San Mateo, and we actually had to sit down with him and he explained how he did it. It was not the most intuitive process.
No,
there were a couple of like forwards and backs, but now that we've had it out there, there's actually scripts that you can just run the script. It's just like when we did the Tor project. If you don't care about any of the customization, you can actually just run a single script and then put in your token and you're good to go.
Yeah, no, it's come a long way, and I think it's also nice of Amazon to kind of release a lot of this information on GitHub and stuff. Obviously, it's advantageous for them to do that, because the more people that play with their software and kind of hack it will eventually help them develop better, you know, back-end stuff for their system. But this project was kind of fun to do, just to be able to play with it and do some of the different hook-ins that the has, which, you know, between the Google Home and the like, Google is great at answering questions. Beep, 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 beep. No, it's only if you say, "Okay, Google." Now I'm going to have to bleep that.
But
if I say Google Home, it should be fine.
But you did refer to the Amazon voice assistant by name several times.
Did I?
Yes.
Just when we came back?
Yes, when we came back.
All right, well, I'll have to go back and fix that then.
Wow, lots of beeps.
But one of the things I didn't show in that video when you're putting together this project is that you can download the Alexa app. And that's where you then tie in some of the more, like if you know, if this, then that.
Right, of course.
It's sort of like that where you can then add hook-ins to your Alexa system. So like if you wanted to tell you the flash briefing, like you can go into the Amazon store. Here, I'll show it on over the overhead. If you go to the store, you can then like drill down into the things that you want. Like one limitation is that you cannot access your Amazon Music library through the Pi, but if you had an Echo, you totally could. They also support Spotify, a bunch of different other music services, which the Google Home doesn't, but it does support Google Play. You know, that's the thing, is that neither of these companies are really going to cooperate with each other. So you're going to have to either buy both if you want to use all the services, or just pick the one that you're more integrated
And just so you know, yes, it is recording. Look, is the NSA listening right now?
Oh, yeah.
We did that right before the show. And
it
said, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's so strange that it didn't answer that question.
Alexa.
Yeah, so if you do download the app, sign into your account, and then add these different hook-ins for Alexa, it will then show you what you've asked for. Like, so it will do Audible, which is an Amazon product, and I will ask it to do that right now. Alexa, play Audible Hamilton.
Getting your book from Audible. Resuming Hamilton.
So
That's
pretty
not bad.
cool.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, and the response is a lot quicker than it was when I did the first project, where you had to hit the button.
Lin-Manuel Miranda,
I think.
Jeremy McCarter.
Oh, I'll tell her to stop.
Lin-Manuel Miranda and
Alexa, stop. So I think that's more to do with the sluggishness of response is all partially the Pi, but it also be the mic.
I'm wondering if I were to bring in my mic setup, and you were to set it up in your cubicle or in the area over there, I wonder if maybe suddenly the voice assistant would be far more responsive.
Probably. I can't imagine that this like $3 mic is all that
Probably
great.
not, no.
It works, especially if it's kind of like a quiet environment and you're relatively close. But if you want the full experience, you're gonna have to drop the $50 on the Amazon Dot or the $180 for the actual Echo. But I think it's just as far as a project to play with the Pi, this is one of my more favorite ones to do.
Yeah. Oh, of course, the question that people are going to have, because this just became a feature in the regular voice assistant world of Amazon, is the custom trigger word, because that word is so often used. This was one of the biggest mistakes they made in making the product name the trigger word.
Right.
Because when people refer to the product, suddenly it's triggering it across. We've had this problem on the Twit TV network, especially for those people who listen through something like an Echo, where the Echo will suddenly trigger itself because we've said the word, which is fantastic.
Which is why I'm going to have to listen to this entire episode and bleep out all of that.
Yeah. So can I set a custom trigger word on my Homebrew version?
You can. It's the Kit AI is the program that you use for the wake word. There's a couple of different wake word programs that you can integrate into this project, but the other service that I looked at, I don't believe you could do a custom word, and it expired. Like you had to start paying for it after 30 days. So the one that I went with was the Git. I think I have a link to it for their GitHub stuff. Was it? Oh,
right. Actually, Alex,
Kit.
You have my
It's the Kit
now.
AI with /Snowboy.
Right. So what he's done is he's created a toolkit that will allow you to customize what it's listening for.
Right. So you'll go to, if you go to like the website and you create a custom hot word for it, then you just hook that into the system. I don't know how difficult or not it is to do because I haven't done it yet, but from everything that I researched, if you wanted to do a custom name, you could. That's okay. I'll cover that with the website. I'll find it later.
Fantastic.
I have to show Brian's Pi.
Oh, do you want to show my Pi?
Not your laptop, but
You can show my Pi.
Never mind. All right.
Show my Pi. Actually, if you do bring up my Pi, Al, oh, I have to, whoop, there we go. So this is like the interface, and there's 3 boxes that are always open and running. Like you were saying earlier, you could make a script to open all these things at once, but you'll have to have 3 different windows open. One for the Kit AI to be listening, and then one to activate the JavaScript box.
Are these set up so that they load on startup, or do you have to manually turn them on every time?
I manually load them every time because I've been using this same Pi and the same OS for different projects and streaming and stuff. So I didn't want this to pop up every time I booted it on. But you could...
It's the same way that we did the tour. So the other week we showed you exactly how you could... there was one line that allowed you to add it to the config as it boots up. So you could do that, but you have it start manually just because you don't always want it to be on.
Exactly.
All right.
And once you do have it on, like I've left it on for days and it's been fine. So if you do set it up and you don't turn off your Pi, it should be all right. I mean, the Pi does get a little finicky after a little while.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, Brian, that's a lot of fun. I mean, we're always looking for new RasPi projects. We've had a couple. Of course, we've done the MAME, we've done the RetroPi.
That's my favorite.
That's my absolute favorite. Actually, we keep going back to that.
We're bringing it back because Nintendo wants us to.
Yeah, because Nintendo said, hey, you know what? You know that NES Classic that has
everybody
sold
loves,
out forever? Yeah, we're not going to make that anymore. Well, folks, we're going to actually show you how to make your own.
What was your speculation for that? For them killing it? Was it because
they want to drive traffic to the Switch? Right. And here's my bet. They don't want you to buy the games on the Switch. Nintendo's looking at their revenue and they're saying, you know what we want? We want a subscription. We want you to buy a subscription that allows you to play all our NES classics, and it'll cost, $3 a month.
No
$3
big
a month,
deal.
no NBD.
And then you're hooked for life.
Then you're hooked, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. There's rumors that they're going to be releasing an SNES later this year too. So I don't know. I think best thing to do, watch this show, 3D print a NES case and put a Raspberry Pi in it.
Also, we've got the Raspberry Pi Torb. We've got Aaron Newcomb. He did our Raspberry Pi watering system. So we're going to be doing more and more RasPi. I know we've been really hooked on Arduino just because I love the simplicity of an Arduino. The fact that you can pull power and reapply it and it's fine. Raspberry Pi is always a little finicky because it is a full operating system. It doesn't like having its power dumped and then turned back on. But we're going to be looking around.
That's a great way to destroy your SD card if you want to, not have that anymore.
Well, what I've done is I've always made sure once I have it perfect, I take an image of that card, and that's what I can restore.
That's what I've done with my MAME machines because there's so many ROMs that I've transferred over, and I don't want to have to redo that. So make copies.
Yeah. Well, Brian, of course, we don't want them copying from the screen because that would just be silly. Did you make some show notes for this?
Surprisingly, yes, actually. And do you want to know where they might be able to find them?
I would love that. Thank you.
Well, you can't find them because they definitely aren't at twit.tv/kh. You're just going to have to download the episode, which you can do at twit.tv/kh, and then freeze frame every line of commands that I've done for the Raspberry Pi. No, don't do that. I'll definitely have show notes for all the commands that you need and a link if you want to try and do the your own hot word. Give it a shot, and then you can get back to us and post it somewhere. Which would be on, where do we have our community post?
We've got a community thing here. Yeah. It's a really good place to go if you've ever got stuck on a problem, on a project, or if you've got help that you can offer to other people.
Yeah, maybe somebody can help me figure out how to do the hot word, because I haven't tried it yet.
Indeed. But you can find that at our social group on Google+. Yes, Google+ is still around, and guess what? We've actually got the largest group here at Twit. It's over, not almost, but over 11,000 Kitas. That's our know-it-alls. This is a great place to drop in if you just want to see what people are doing in the maker and DIY space, if you've got questions that you're hoping other people can answer, or if you're an expert and you want to lend your wisdom to the new generation of makers. Just go to Google+ and look for know-how. This is a very short approval process, but once you're in, you will get access to all that knowledge, all those Kitas, and it's the best place to get your questions answered here on the show, or get your projects, your videos, your photos shown off. So again, go to Google+ and look for know-how.
You know, the only thing that was disappointing about the Google Plus stuff is that once we got to 9,000, it went beyond 9,000 so fast that we didn't get to say over 9,000 for very many episodes.
No. Actually, yeah, because it took, what, 3 years to get to 9,000?
It did.
And then it took
like
less than a year to get up to 11,000.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty cool community. But if you want to know what we're doing outside of Know-How or what projects we might be coming up with, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at cranky_hippo.
And you're going to find me at PadreSJ. And we've got a third member of our crew, very hardworking. We know him as Billy Bob. You can find Billy Bob, twitter.com/AN.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Billy Bob, yeah.
Excuse me, Padre. It's pronounced.
Oh, great. Now we got to beep that.
You.
We got to beep that too.
God.
Let's beep everything here.
Brian, can you say over 9,000 again?
Over 9,000! Nice, thank you.
This is what we
Actually,
do.
if you put it on top of my head, it's almost like Super Saiyan hair.
Folks, until next time, I am Father Robert Palliser.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
And now that you know how.
Flame on. No. I want to say flame on. That's what Fantastic Four, right?
Hey, Brian, edit this.
You.
Excuse me, Padre, did you call me?